Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be around the world. I'm Marcus Holmes, and I'm excited to come from the Love and Stuff community via Restream to LinkedIn Live, Twitch TV, YouTube events, and the Marcus R. Holmes page to bring you another moment of Black history. This week, we're focusing on the writings and writers of our African American collective and experience. We are 365 Black, but within our wide open community, there are so many different hues and backgrounds. We wanted to take a moment to celebrate the rich and unique heritage and history of the African American, the excellence, the sacrifices, the writing, the reflective, the experience. So I hope that you will click share, whichever platform you may be on, and tag someone to join us in this journey over the next several days. We will complete our journey on January 28th, Sunday at 6 p.m. and a culmination of a major show there. But each day we will highlight in some way the unique contributions of people of African American heritage and African descent. And so today we will be highlighting the life and legacy of Naomi Long Madgett, former poet laureate for the city of Detroit, and some of her writings. We will also have a cameo appearance, video appearance from another poet who happens to be in our Love and Stuff community, but is known to the poet community at large as Phoenix, LaShawn Phoenix Moore. And so we will have her tribute to, as she calls her mama Naomi, her tribute to poet laureate Naomi Long Madgett. And so we will share a bit of her biography as well. American poet and publisher and writer, Naomi Long Madgett was born as Naomi Cornelia Long in Norfolk, Virginia in July of 1923. She was the only daughter and the youngest of the three children of Baptist minister Reverend Dr. Clarence Marcellus Long and Maud Selina Long. Naomi was 18 years old when the family moved to East Orange, New Jersey, where her father was pastor of Calvary Baptist Church. She began writing at an early age, having her first poem published in the Orange Daily Courier when she was just 13 years old. While living in New Jersey, she went to an integrated school where she faced racism as an African American. She graduated from Ashland Grammar School and began attending East Orange High School until in 1937, her family moved to St. Louis, where for the following 4 years, her father served as pastor of Central Baptist Church there. She met Langston Hughes, who was an early mentor of Madgett's, and she met him at a poetry reading at the age of 15 while there in St. Louis. Madgett attended and graduated with honors from Sumner High School, where she was encouraged to write and read widely, from Aesop's Fables and Robert T. Curlin's anthology, Negro Poets and Their Poems, to Romantic and Victorian English poets such as John Keats, William Wordsworth, and Alfred Tennyson. At the age of 17, she published her first small collection of poetry, Songs to a Phantom Nightingale, in 1941, a few days after graduating from high school. She earned a bachelor's degree at Virginia State University, at that time known as Virginia State College. She began studies at New York University in 1946, but that year moved to Detroit, Michigan after marrying Julian Fields Witherspoon, whom she had first met at Sumner High School. She earned her master's at Wayne State University and doctorate at Greenwich University as well. Listen as we share just a bit of an interview section from her.
Some people think that poetry should be written only about beautiful things. But no, it's written about life. This is on page 91. It's called City Nights. My windows and doors are barred against the intrusion of thieves. There is nothing you can tell me about the city. I do not know. On the front porch, it is cool and quiet after the high-pitched panic passes. The windows across the street gleam in the dark. I started writing as a child. My first poem was published when I was 12 years old, and my first book was published when I was 17, just a few days after I graduated from high school. I have spent a lot of my life publishing the work of other poets. Altogether, it's over 90 books of poetry by individuals that I have published. I think one of the most important books we have ever published was an anthology called Adam of Ife, Black Women in Praise of Black Men. And it's a book that needed to be done.
She has pursued a life of prolific creativity, supported other writers and poets, reached across generations to spark in young people a love of words and writing, and maintained a deep and abiding commitment to metropolitan Detroit. It's my deep pleasure and honor to ask all of you to raise your glasses and toast our 2012 eminent artist, Naomi Long Madgett.
Being a poet and being a teacher has helped me to be a better editor. Everything that I have done has worked together. By publishing so many good poets, I see myself as the first rung of a ladder. And I'm happy to see those poets climb up to better things. The front porch is cool and quiet. The neighbors are dark and warm. The grandchildren are upstairs dreaming, and we are happy for their presence.
That was Naomi Long Madgett. In her poetry, influenced by the works of Emily Dickinson, John Keats, and Langston Hughes, Madgett often engaged themes of civil rights and African-American spirituality. She was the author of numerous collections of poetry, including One and the Many, 1956, Exits and Entrances, 1978, and Octavia and Other Poems, 1988, reissued and expanded in 2002. Mentored by poet Langston Hughes, Madgett moved to Detroit. And in the 1960s, she joined a group of African-American writers who met regularly at Boone House, including Margaret Danner, Dudley Randall, and Oliver LaGrone. In 1972, Madgett founded Lotus Press. She edited the anthology Adam of Ife, Black Women in Praise of Black Men, and her own work was included in the anthologies The Poetry of the Negro, edited by Langston Hughes, and 10, Anthology of Detroit Poets, edited by LaGrone. Madgett was named Detroit's Poet Laureate in 2001 by Mayor Dennis Archer. Additional honors included a Michigan Artist Award, an American Book Award from the Before Columbus Foundation, a George Kent Award, and recognition in the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame. The documentary film Star by Star, Naomi Long Madgett, Poet and Publisher, was made by David B. Schock and released in 2011. Kathy Vander's 1997 film, A Poet's Voice, combined a selection of Madgett's poetry with paintings made by Detroit artists. Madgett worked for a while as a staff writer at the Michigan Chronicle, where she published many poems under the name Naomi L. Witherspoon. She gave birth to a daughter, Jill Annette Witherspoon, in 1947, although her marriage was short-lived, ending in divorce in 1948. Madgett's poem Refugee appeared in the Poetry of the Negro, an anthology edited by Arna Bontemps with Langston Hughes. Her poem Midway, from her 1956 collections, One and the Many, attracted wide attention as it portrayed Black people's struggles and victories in a time when racism was prevalent in the United States. Her work appeared in a variety of publications, including Freedom Ways, the Blue River Poetry Magazine, Negro History Bulletin, Negro Digest, as well as in other anthologies such as Hughes's 1964 New Negro Poets USA. Becoming a teacher, Madgett taught the first Black literary course in the Detroit public school system for 12 years, most of them spent at Northwestern High School. Her third poetry collection, Star by Star, was published in 1965, also gaining acclaim. In 1968, she taught creative writing and Black literature at Eastern Michigan University, where she was appointed Associate Professor of English. While at Eastern, she earned her PhD from the International Institute for Advanced Studies. Promoted to full professor, she retired in 1984 as Professor of English Emeritus at the age of 60. After she had difficulty finding a publisher for her fourth book, she published it herself from a company she set up, Lotus Press. Realizing that there was a need for presses that promoted African American writers. The imprint published Black writers such as Herbert Woodward Martin, Dolores Kendrick, James A. Emanuel, Gail Jones, Haki Madhubuti, Mae Miller, Toy Derricott, and Dudley Randall, and for many years was run by Madgett from her basement, mostly single-handed. Though in the early years, she invented an editorial assistant named Connie Withers to give the imprint corporate heft. Madgett would continue to serve as publisher, editor of the company until 2015, when Lotus Press merged with Dudley Randall's Broadside Press to become Broadside Lotus Press. Some of Madgett's poems, including Midway, have been set to music as songs and publicly performed, as well as publishing collections of her own poetry. Madgett also wrote a textbook on creative writing. In 1993, the National Naomi Long Madgett Poetry Award was established, an annual award sponsored by Broadside to recognize and publish an outstanding manuscript by an African American poet. Her autobiography, Pilgrim Journey, was published in 2006. In 2012, Kresge Arts in Detroit presented her, as you saw in the video, with the 2012 Kresge Eminent Artist Award, a $50,000 prize to recognize Madgett's decades of commitment to originating, illuminating, and preserving poetry by African Americans and promoting the study and appreciation of African American literature in schools and universities. Madgett's last poetry collection, You Are My Joy and Pain, Love Poems, was published in the fall of 2020. She died on November 5th, 2020, at her home in West Bloomfield, Michigan, at the age of 97. Madgett taught at Northwestern High School and at Eastern Michigan University. A selection of her papers, documenting her poetry career and the history of Lotus Press, is held by the University of Michigan's Special Collections Library. Now I will play a tribute to her from LaShawn Phoenix Koterin, LaShawn Phoenix Moore, poet extraordinaire, her tribute to Mama Naomi.
A poem from Miss Naomi. I remember sitting across from you in a Wayne State University ball.
We are experiencing some technical difficulties, so we shall continue. I will share with you some of the writings and some of the poetry of the great poet laureate Naomi Long Madgett. I will start with one of her poems entitled Reluctant Light. Mother, I didn't mean to slight you, but it wasn't you that I adored. You hid your energy in shadows, and I was dazzled by the sun. I idolized the one whose voice soared to prophetic heights, whose words rejuvenated epics of the ages. Some fine June Sundays, slendered and magnificent in morning coat, he would electrify the pulpit with eloquent pronouncements of doom and glory, so divine the very gates of heaven seemed to part, bathing the atmosphere in crystal light. Seeking his favor, I rehearsed raising my hand like his in benediction, earning the childhood name of preacher, shortening time to preet. You gave us daily sustenance, but there was never a choir's fanfare or the soul beat of the mighty to grand applause. You baked the bread for which we seldom thank you, canned pears for winters and mended depression-weary clothes, scrubbed sheets on a washboard, humming hymns to lift your sagging spirit, and cultivating beauty in the endless flower pots. The summer when he toured the streets of ancient Palestine and Rome, you consoled yourself by painting pictures of the Appian Way, using the kitchen table for an easel. You coached me with my homework, rejoiced in my small triumphs, and prepared me to confront the enemy, tapping your umbrella against my fifth grade teacher's desk to punctuate your firm demand for justice. I didn't recognize your subtle power that led me through blind, airless caves, your quiet elegance that taught me dignity, nor could I know the wind that bore him high into the sunlight emanated from your breath. I didn't want your journey, rebelled against your sober ways. But I have walked through my own shadows and, like you, transcended glitter. I have learned that I am source and substance of a different kind of light. Now, when they say I look like you and tell me that I have deepened to your wisdom, softened to your easy grace, I claim my place with honor in that court of dusky queens whose strength and beauty invented sons that others only borrow. And mother, I am glad to be your child. I will also share one of her writings, Alabama Centennial. They said, wait. Well, I waited. For 100 years, I waited. In cotton fields, kitchens, balconies, and bread lines at back doors, on chain gangs and stinking colored toilets and crowded ghettos outside of schools and voting booths. And some said later, and some said never. Then a new wind blew, And a new voice rode its wings with quiet urgency, strong, determined, sure. No, it said, not never, not later, not even soon. Now, walk. And other voices echoed the freedom words. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Whispered them, sang them, prayed them, shouted them, walk. And I walked the streets of Montgomery until a link in the chain of patient acquiescence broke. Then again, sit down, and I sat down at the counters of Greensboro. Ride, and I rode the bus for freedom. Kneel, and I went down on my knees in prayer and faith. March, and I'll march until the last chain falls, singing, we shall overcome. Not all the dogs and hoses in Birmingham, nor all the clubs and guns in Selma can turn this tide. Not all the jails can hold these young Black faces from their destiny of manhood, of equality, of dignity, of the American dream, 100 years past due. Now. And I will also share fragments of a dream. A letter has fallen out of my name. It tumbles over and over itself. I can't retrieve it, and without it, I don't know who I am. I follow it to St. Mark's Square, but it turns into pigeons that turn into worms. Everywhere I step, they squish and squirm, and I have no wings. I am clinging to the edge of a star, trying to capture the missing letter. I can't hold on much longer. I will disintegrate before I hit the earth. Even the smallest deletion changes the alphabet, the order of the universe, as a stuck piano key alters a song. And I am falling, incomplete, anonymous. My heart's still pulsing. I feel the air move as the lid of my coffin is lowered. My mouth is full of sand, and I can't cry out for someone to give me back myself. I want to die easy when I die. This is no way to go. Sighed heavy on my chest. My eyes are glued shut, and I can't read the name on my headstone. Genesis, the missing chapter. And when God hath created the world and all the things in it, and sat down on the seventh day to rest from his labors, he was pleased with his view of mountains and islands, of clouds floating in a sea blue sky. He delighted in the scent of hyacinths and frankincense and the taste of salt and honey. The bark of trees and the fur of rabbits were pleasant to his touch. But when humans uttered sound, their speech fell like a dull thud earthbound, a babble discordant to his ear. And he said, there is something I have forgotten, something I still must do. And he thought and thought about it until he noticed the trilling of a tiny bird. So on the eighth day, God took the little bird and called it joy. He borrowed the rhythm of the ocean and called it supplication. The roar of thunder he named despair. He gathered the many voices of the wind and called them exaltation. And he named the rustle of leaves thanksgiving. The whisper of rain became love, and the murmur of a brook faith and hope. He bound them all together and called them music and planted it in the human voice. Then he created poets so that music could be sung in words. And choirs rejoiced, organs consecrated, violins implored, drums celebrated, clarinets wailed, trumpets praised, trombones lamented, and saxophones glorified God in the highest. And God said, now my world is truly complete. Hereafter, whenever humans seek to communicate with each other and with me, music will forever be the purest vehicle for carrying the varied messages of the soul. I am going to again attempt to play our special cameo appearance. Bear patient with us if there is some challenge with the video.
Room, eating fresh snacks and admiring all the wet behind the ears youth poets in the space. You were so normal, a rock star that let the youngins fall all over you. Your companion, another beautiful brown girl, looked at you, worried that we might be draining you by fawning over your many accomplishments and gaping in disbelief at how such black and bold bravery was equally patient and not weary with all the attention. One of my students said, I want to be just like you, Miss Naomi. And you smiled a grin full of sunlight and retorted, be like yourself. Snickering, the other black and gold at the table snapped their fingers and smacked their lips.
We are again experiencing great technical difficulties with that video. We will try to double back to it in just a moment. I will read one of the last works that I want to share with you of Naomi Long, Poet Laureate for the city of Detroit. It is entitled Midway. This poem, as Madgett notes, grew out of a discussion with a friend that acknowledged that the Supreme Court desegregation ruling, which legalized racial injustice for the first time, led to the determination of Black people to move forward and never again accept the status quo. I've come this far to freedom and I won't turn back. I'm climbing to the highway from my old dirt track. I'm coming and I'm going and I'm stretching and I'm growing, and I'll reap what I've been sowing, or my skin's not black. I prayed and slaved and waited and I've sung my song. You've bled me and you've starved me, but I'm still grown strong. You've lashed me and you've treed me, and you've everything but freed me. But in time you'll know you need me, and it won't be long. I've seen the daylight breaking high above the bow. I found my destination and I've made my vow. So whether you abhor me or deride me or ignore me, mighty mountains loom before me, and I won't stop now. And we will, before we close, I certainly want to get this video in one more try for LaShawn Phoenix Coterin, a very wonderful part of our Love and Stuff community, and a poet, singer-songwriter extraordinaire in her own right. And so I want to definitely be able to play this, and I hope that we will be able to. Thank you for your patience.
A poem from Miss Naomi. I remember sitting across from you in a Wayne State University ballroom, eating fresh snacks and admiring all the wet behind the ears youth poets in the space. You were so normal, a rock star that let the youngins fall all over you. Your companion, another beautiful brown girl, looked at you, worried that we might be draining.
I certainly want to do justice to her presentation, and I will share that presentation as a separate insert to today's Black History Moment, her tribute to Miss Naomi Long Madgett. I hope to close with this other piece of video. It's just a picture collage of her. Thank you. We will see you tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another moment in Black history of our writers in the African American experience. I hope you will click share and share this content with others as well. You can follow us on LinkedIn, on Love and Stuff, HR Passion Guy on Twitch TV and YouTube events. It would be our pleasure to have you at any of all of those. Thank you and have a great evening. Thank you and have a great evening.